Hey guys, the 2017 season has just wrapped up for me, but I've already started the process of making myself a better angler for the 2018 season. I'm going to use the data that I tracked from the Anglr app and the Anglr tracker to break down data for the lakes that I'm going to be fishing next year and build patterns, look at different weather patterns and different things that will help me become a better angler. So let's head into the studio. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right guys, let me show you how I plan to break this data down to make me a better angler in the 2018 season. As you can see, I'm on the dashboard here of my Anglr account. 800 miles, almost 14 and a half days tracked this summer alone. But I'm going to show you guys some pieces of information that I feel like that are noteworthy that you guys may want to check out on your data as well. So I'm going to go to the second page of my trips here, and I'm going to take you guys to a trip on Paint Creek Lake around Hillsboro, Ohio. So this was a Lawrence County Bass Club tournament that I fished on May 20th, 2017. You can see that the lake, let's go into satellite. Actually, let's make the map a little bigger, then go into satellite. You can see that I caught 3 fish. Wasn't an outstanding day. Paint Creek Lake is normally a really good lake when it comes to catching fish like that, but for some reason today it wasn't the greatest. But there's a couple things I want to show you within the Anglr data that I think is noteworthy, that's kind of caught my attention, and I want to see that I can break the data down. If I scroll down here, you can see that I caught 3 fish here, and what I'm going to do is the wind direction here, I'm going to bump it up on the list so it's not so far down. So here's the wind direction. Let's put it above the rod combos. I don't have any rod combos set up right now, but right here's the wind direction. But one thing I really want to point out here that's piqued my interest is this. Notice that I caught the first fish here about 9:15 or so. If you go down, it's exactly right when the wind changed to start blowing from the east. Not so much when the wind's coming from the northeast. I caught 3 fish when the wind is blowing from the east. So what does that mean? Well, does that mean the fish only bite in this lake when the wind's blowing from the east? I couldn't tell you that for sure. But I do know 2 spots now that I can go to if the wind is blowing from the east, and pretty much, it's a sure thing that I'm going to get bit. Again, there's a point here and a couple points here. There's an island that I caught some fish on here. But these 3 points right here, I caught fish on them, or three different places. Notice that the wind is always constantly blowing from the east. So that could be one of those things I can put in the back of my mind for Paint Creek. So I'm going to do some data research on the Anglr app and see when, what the weather patterns are going to be like for that day when I'm fishing. Well, if I know that it's going to be mostly coming from the east, I know of 3 spots that I can go to right then and there and probably catch fish without a shadow of a doubt. Why? Because I have the data that proves that. So let's look at some other data here from this trip. Overcast all the way until about 10:15 or so, and then it started raining, and then at noon it just quit raining, just went straight back to mostly cloudy. Air temperature rising from about 61, I'd say, all the way up to, you can see, roughly 70 degrees at noon. This tournament lasted until 3 p.m. I know for sure because I remember this day without having to look back. I had an old iPhone at the time. My iPhone battery was terrible. It died around noon, so that's why the data is only here at noon. That's my fault. So some of the things that I've seen from the Anglr data is that fish typically bite better for me when the barometric pressure is either rising or falling, not just staying where it's at. So notice that it's rising all day until about 10 o'clock, then it kind of plateaus, and then there's a point here, and then it drops down, starts rising again around noon. Wind speed, the highest it got was about 5 miles per hour, which is not terrible for this area. The water temperature there, I would have this information as far as the water gauge, the feet, and the water temperature if I would have had a water buoy or a lake buoy within this lake. There isn't one, so I couldn't actually draw that data in. If there was one, I'll show you one that we can actually look at that does have that in just a second. But you would give it all that information there as well. So you can see there, like I said, does that mean anything? Is that a coincidence that the fish only bit when it was, coming out of the east? Who knows? But I'm going to show you another trip that has me, piqued my interest from this exact same reason. So I'm going to click back on my trips here. I'm going to go back down to the BFL Regional Day 2, which was just last month. It's been almost a month ago. This was at a lake down in southern, or about, I guess, middle Kentucky there. But I want you to look at this really quickly. I'm gonna take the wind direction and I'm gonna boost it up, or bump it up the list here so you can see it. So here's the wind direction. Here is my timeline of catching fish. As you can see, if you go back up here on the lake, we'll zoom in here a little bit. You can notice that this thing actually, this day, I caught a ton of fish. I didn't mark a lot of the fish. I ended up catching 30 fish this day for this tournament. And again, I was in a tournament situation. I marked all of them that I could remember, but when you're in the heat of the battle, especially tournament fishermen like I am, I forgot to press the button to actually confirm the catch on the tracker. But with that being said, let's look at this right here. The very first fish I caught was a little after 8 o'clock here, actually almost 8:45. So I had a few hook sets here in this area right here. It was a really rocky bank. It could have been just rocks, being trigger happy because I was wanting to catch a fish, trying to win this tournament. But I did catch a lot of fish there on that bank, especially from pre-fishing the area. But notice this very first fish I caught, the wind actually changed to be blowing from the south, from the southeast. I caught fish all day long, all the way up to about 2:45. Notice that the wind changed. It was swirling a little bit, went back to the southeast. Notice between this and this, these two fish I caught right here were directly on the ends of those swirls, so it went directly back to the south. So I caught fish here and here. So I continued to catch fish all the way until here, and then this is the last fish I caught for the day. And notice that the wind changed from the south to blowing from the southeast right then and there immediately. So, I can start building a pattern with this data from year to year to see this. Okay, again, doesn't mean that the fish in this lake only bite when it comes out of the south. No, there's no way to actually say that unless you just, compiled years of data and that's only when they bit. But right now, just having 1 year of data, what I'm going to use this for is to say, I've caught fish when the wind is coming from the south on these spots. So if I have these spots here, let's make so I'm going to zoom in here, and this spot right here, again, we caught a bunch of fish, but when the wind's coming from the south, this cove right here seems to be on fire. It may be blowing bait fish into a certain point of the lake. It's hard to say, but I know if I look at the data on the Anglr app for tournaments that I'm going to be fishing, if the wind's going to be blowing from the south, you can bet your rear end I'm going to be sitting on these spots trying to catch these fish. This ledge right here that you see actually was where the co-angler that actually won the entire tournament was fishing. He was fishing with my best friend Kyle for the first day. There was something like 40 some pound of fish that come off of this one, and this is a bank that's probably about 50 to 70 yards long from here to here, and there was 40 pound of fish come off of this one ledge. And it kind of set up like Kentucky Lake. It come off, it was like chunk rock boulders, and then come down into it was a rock face. It come out and stair-stepped, and it stair-stepped down into about 30 foot, and there was some riprap on the bottom of the lake right there, and they caught a ton of fish off of there. You can see I caught several fish. Over here's another point that I can see. This whole area, if the wind's blowing from the south, again, you can bet your rear end that I'm going to be running there to see if I can catch these fish. And if I go back there next year and the wind's blowing from the south and I don't catch fish there, maybe it could have been a fluke, maybe not. And again, I'm just building this database of the information from my fishing trips with the Anglr app that I can use for years to come. It's not going to be something that's going to be gone away. I don't have to worry about writing it down. It's tracked for me automatically, and I don't have to worry about that. All right, guys, let's just grab a random tournament here and just try to break down the information and the data on the fly. So this is a tournament that we fished out of Eagle Creek on the Ohio River, which is down around Maysville, Kentucky. It's down around Ripley, Ohio. So we see here that the cloud coverage is mostly clear all day. Started partly cloudy around noon. The air temperature started out 65 degrees at 8 when the tournament started, rose to at 3 o'clock you're looking at 80 degrees. So this is the heat of the summer, so nothing extraordinary there. So the barometric pressure was rising at 8 o'clock in the morning and then continually rose till about noon, and it kind of fell off a little bit Wind speed, you can see here, when we get up into 2:30, 3 o'clock, you're looking at 8 miles per hour. That's ripping pretty good. Definitely going to have some disturbance on the water. The wind direction is northwest all the way into north around noon. Let's see, let's see if this actually coincides with, wow, look at that. There's some more data. I haven't even looked at this tournament yet, but check this out. We have a pin here right before noon, 11:45 or so, and if you scroll all the way down here, look right here, exactly what happened again. This is the third time in a row from 3 different trips, 3 different bodies of water, that it's all happened. Again, check this out. The wind changed from northwest, just coming from the north, and I caught a fish right on that north change. Well, if you kind of look back here, there's a couple fish that I did catch within, when the wind was coming from the northwest. But, I can look at these actual things, and I can say, okay, I want to fish these points, and I want to make sure that I'm actually fishing them when the wind is coming from northwest or the north, because I know they're productive during those times. 710 casts on this coming from the tracker, 3 catches. That's not a very good cast to catch ratio. That's 237 casts to every 1 fish caught. We caught a few more fish. My cousin Josh was fishing with me this tournament. He didn't have the tracker at the time. So we probably doubled that. We probably threw 1,400 casts in a day to catch 3 fish, which is still going to be looking, at the same deal there. Actually be a little bit more than that. But you can see that we traveled a long ways. 8-hour tournament, 77.96 miles on the Ohio River to catch 3 fish. Ran about $75 worth of fuel out of the boat. Blew some carbon out of it. We caught 3 fish. We did track some data. We ended up winning big bass for this tournament. So again, I can take this data and say, okay, next year if I fish Eagle Creek, I know 3 spots that I can go to that I've caught fish on, that have been productive, and I can see what the weather patterns are going to be like and factor that into the way I'm going to fish my tournament. All right, guys, so I hope that's helped you look a little bit into the Anglr data as far as on the website of things that you can get access to. So I'm going to use this data, and again, the more I use this Anglr app, the more data that I'm going to be, basically storing, that I can go back and I can build trends, and I can look at I can build patterns all just from looking at previous data. Again, you can go and you can write all this stuff down if you wanted to. However, I prefer to use the Anglr app. It just works. I can see this data for years to come, stored on the cloud. I can see this data anywhere in the world. I don't have to worry about packing my laptop with me, and have it stored on here. I can actually connect to it on the cloud and get access to my information, all over the world, especially when I'm going to be traveling a lot this year, fishing the Costa Series. I can look at some of these weather patterns and see when do the fish bite better. Again, I can look at smallmouth versus largemouth. I can say, when did, what weather patterns did smallmouth bite better? Was it the barometric pressure? What level were the barometric pressure at? Where was the wind coming from? How much water was flowing from the dams of these lakes that I'm catching from? What's the weather temperature? What's the water temperature if I have that data? I could take this information and create, the best logbook that any fisherman could ever want. So, I hope, that's helped you out a little bit looking into how I plan on breaking the data down for the Anglr app, from the Anglr app, to make myself a better fisherman next year. If you guys have any questions about the Anglr app, feel free to shoot me a message on, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can also shoot me a message here on YouTube. I'll definitely do my best to find out the information for you, and if I can't, I will point you to somebody that can. So again, hope you guys start using the Anglr app. If you need any more information from me or would like to see me break this thing down a little bit more, let me know. I'll definitely help you out. See you guys on the water. Tight lines.